During this international break is one of the best times to use your wildcard. If you kept your cool so far in this season and you didn't click the wildcard button so far, this is one of the best times to do it. I think there is a very good turn of fixtures. The Chelsea assets are no longer viable in my opinion, and other teams such as Aston Villa, Newcastle and Liverpool are having better fixtures for the upcoming game weeks. I believe that in Go there is a lot of controversy. There isn't a team that is doing very well defensively. Chelsea is the best side defensively, but they had the easiest fixture run, and now with the fixtures turning for the worse, I believe that their goalkeeper is not a top priority. In my opinion, the duo of Areola and Turner, who were 4.0 at the start, now Areola is 4.2, sorry, and Turner is 4.0 still. I believe with their rotatable fixtures and you having only invested only 8.2 million in goalkeeper's position is very good. As you can see, the whole squad is costing 100 million.4, which is a very good price, and I believe it's very affordable for most of the players in this game. In my opinion, you already own several of those players, so fitting in the others will be easy enough. But yeah, we'll talk about the price ranges in a minute. Right now in goalkeeper's position, Areola and Turner, perfectly fine combo. I don't see anyone being benched. There were rumors that Turner would have been benched when the new goalkeeper came, but he has played very well so far and he kept a clean sheet against Crystal Palace. Areola hasn't played yet, at least at the time of recording, but he is nailed and he is looking very good. And with such low price points, I believe that you cannot go wrong here. Other goalkeepers as Robert Sanchez and Leno are options as well, but they are more expensive than them. And I believe that Chelsea's fixtures are one of the worst going forward. And Fulham, even though Leno is pretty good, they are going to concede several goals. And it's no point to waste the money when you can invest in one of those two guys and they will keep a lot of clean sheets. As mentioned, they rotate perfectly fine. Other options in goal were Flecken, Onana maybe, Ederson, Alisson, but I believe that the money can be spent very well up front and in other positions. And in goalkeeper's position, there isn't something of a trend to follow or a good goalkeeper to own. Maybe bar Leno, but in my opinion, Fulham are not so good defensively. And as already mentioned, as cheap as you can go is the best possible politics that you can apply, in my opinion. And for me, Turner and Areola will do the job. Turner is having Luton at home in game week 9, and then Areola is having better fixtures. So yeah, in my opinion, you can invest in those two goalkeepers and you will be perfectly fine. Going into the defenders, my thoughts are that you need an attacking players in defense, and yeah, the players changed a little bit. Before they were Chilwell, Estupinian. They're both injured right now, so new players are coming into the frame. I believe the fixture run for Chilwell is getting worse and worse. Brighton fixtures are good when Estupinian is injury free, so you can put him back whenever he is injury free. But for now, those 5 guys can do a perfectly fine job. Speaking about attacking players, Trippier is the most attacking wing back, as you can see. He is taking set pieces, he is getting into dangerous opportunities, he is delivering clean sheets as well, so he has everything you need in a defender. Yeah, he is very expensive, 6.8. This is a price of midfielder, but with the way Newcastle are playing and Trippier being so important to their play style and the form that they are getting into, I believe that a Newcastle defender is a must. I believe that you can opt for Schär, Burn, Botman when he comes back from injury, but Trippier, if you have the money, is the best choice you can go for, and on a wild card you can free up some budget to own Trippier. Maybe there are some other options here that you can opt for. Maybe Burn at the cheapest is okay, but I believe there is a rotation risk with Burn. I know that sounds silly, but Lewis Howe and Livramento are options in defense, while Trippier, being the captain, is going to be played week in and week out, at least in my opinion. Udogi, he has been in my drafts for a very long time right now, but if you haven't got him, I believe he is a very good option. Van den Ven scored a goal against Luton, the winning goal. Romero has been very good recently, but Udogi, in my opinion, is the most attacking one, and he is the obvious choice at least for me. Yeah, the other guys are cheaper, but Udogi is expensive for a reason, and that reason is that he is very, very good. Sometimes he is being substituted off around the 75th, 80 minutes, so this is good as well because you can get a clean sheet locked and Spurs can concede after that and he will be fine and you'll get the clean sheet points. He is very close to assists. He is sometimes getting into dangerous opportunities to score a goal, so I believe that he is a very, very good option. And even though Van den Ven and Romero already scored goals, I believe that Udogi is soon to be scoring. So yeah, you can believe in him. Next up is Match Cash. I believe that Match Cash has been pretty integral to the way Aston Villa are playing, at least in the Prem. He is very attacking. He is getting into very dangerous opportunities. And if he can clean up his finishing product, he will deliver a lot of points. I know he is a very popular player right now. He has reasons from 4.5 to 5.0, which is a 0.5 rise, which is a lot, but I believe it's deserved. Aston Villa's fixture run is the easiest going forward, so at least one player from their side is required. I am as well opting for Match Cash. In my draft, I already used my wildcard, but if I was using it right now, this would have been my draft. But yeah, Match Cash 5.0, perfectly fine. And when Estupinian comes back from the injury, you can easily replace Match Cash with Estupinian, or you can even own both, maybe if you have the budget. But yeah, he is a very good replacement to be made to Estupinian when Aston Villa fixtures are becoming worse and worse. But for now, they are perfectly fine. And Match Cash, I believe he is nailed. He's being rested in Europe, so he's playing in the Prem, and that's what you need in your fantasy team, a player that is playing, and he's returning a lot of points. He's keeping clean sheets. He's making attacking returns perfectly fine. Mitchell, he's my 4.5 defender. I don't think that this is a very important position. It's just a placeholder. Crystal Palace fixtures in the next 2 game weeks are tough, but after that is a green run for them as well. So Mitchell can fit in after that. I believe Udogi, Trippier, and Cash are perfectly fine to hold the line for the next 2 game weeks alone, and Mitchell will be backup. But after that, you can even opt for Mitchell if some of the guys having a difficult fixture. Maybe you'll be not interested in that, but Crystal Palace are keeping several clean sheets. He's getting a bonus here and there, maybe an assist soon enough. So Mitchell, in my opinion, is the best 4.5 defender right now. There are some other options that are viable, maybe someone from West Ham, but I already own a West Ham goalkeeper, so I don't want to opt for a defender from them as well. Maybe a Fulham defender if you're interested, maybe a Chelsea defender, but as we already learned, their program is not good enough, and in my opinion those 4 defenders can cover for each other perfectly fine. And the last guy here is Charlie Taylor from Burnley. He is not as nailed as that I want to be, but 3.9, he is the 15th player on the bench, so pretty much I don't care if he is playing or not. Maybe in some dangerous situations when the whole team of mine is injured or suspended for a week and I don't want to change them drastically, he can cover, but in my opinion it's not required to own such a defender. Here there are very obvious omissions: no City defender, no Liverpool defender, no Arsenal defender, no Manchester United defender, but I have my reason. Manchester United are not good defensively, they are in shambles. Liverpool defenders are very expensive, especially Trent Alexander-Arnold or Virgil van Dijk or Robertson. 3 of them are very expensive. City defense, it's not something that I want to invest right now. First of all, they are not nailed. Secondly, they are not very well defensive wise, and third of all, their fixture run is getting worse and worse right now, so a defender from their side seems silly. Arsenal defender is a good option, but I don't think that Ben White is better than Match Cash and Udogi, so I don't want to spend the extra money to own Ben White. The other defenders, Saliba and Gabriel, are options, but as I already mentioned, I want attacking defenders, and those 3, even 4 defenders, are pretty attacking. Who else am I missing? Arsenal I spoke about. City, no Chelsea here because the fixture run. Brighton defenders, Brighton are not doing well defensively. The only defender that I'm interested in is Estupinian, but he is now injured, so he is out of the wildcard team. So yeah, I think these defenders pick themselves pretty easily. Maybe if you have the money, you can opt for Anderson from Crystal Palace because he has been the most influential. But for a cover-up, Mitchell will do a perfectly fine job. And I believe that you need to invest more money in midfield and attack. And I've prepared a pretty special selection for them. And without further ado, let's go and see the midfielders. As promised, my midfield is looking pretty interesting. I know that I have several players that are very highly owned and very popular picks, but I have my wild cards here for sure. Let's start with the obvious guys. For me, Salah at 12.6 with the fixture run coming from Liverpool. He is a very viable captain option in the next couple of game weeks. He hasn't played yet against Brighton at time of recording, but I believe that he is going to destroy Brighton and he will get into the games against Everton in the 0 positions with a very high morale and will be a very strong contender. I believe that now with the injury of Gakpo, he is going to be even more dangerous because Gakpo is somehow changing the Liverpool side and Salah is playing more wide, but now with Darwin coming up front, or maybe Jota, I believe that Salah will get into more dangerous opportunities. I know that a lot of players now own Salah and he is not a differential anymore as he was when I picked him in my real team, but for my personal opinion, if you don't own him yet, you must pick him, and the best way to do so is with the wildcard. The only opportunity for me and the possibility to use the wildcard was to bring Salah, because the other players are pretty easy to obtain, but Salah is pretty difficult because he is at that price point where if you don't have spare money, you cannot afford him without taking several hits. The other obvious option in my opinion here is Maddison. For me, he is such a talismanic player for Spurs and he will get the points week in and week out. Maybe 6 points here, 8 points there, but he will keep grinding those points. He won't get as big holes as Son is getting, but for me, Maddison is going to gain more points during the whole season and he is a very must-owned player right now, at least in my opinion. And the third obvious player, maybe someone will say here, is Diaby. Diaby is flagged right now and I haven't seen him play yet in game week 8, but I think that for game week 9 he will be perfectly fine. He's not going on an international duty, so he will have time to recover. And at 6.7, he is a very good way into the Aston Villa's attack. He is involved basically in anything, and in my opinion, he is going to be more and more dangerous with the weeks coming in. Maybe against these zero positions, they will score even more goals. Maybe you don't have the money to afford Watkins, so Diaby is a perfectly fine replacement, and with much cash together can wreck a lot of defenders, let's say it like that. Saka is flagged. He hasn't played yet in game week 8. He is rumored to be missing the game against City. I believe that he will be playing because this is one of the most important games for Arsenal. And if he has an injury problem, he may miss the international duty, but he won't miss the game week 8 game, at least in my opinion. And for me, he is going to be perfectly fine for game week 9. And going without an Arsenal player, I think it's a very dangerous game. They are one of the best sides in the league, and going without one of their players, even though their fixture run is not a clean sweep, sounds like a dangerous game, and I prefer him instead of Son. I believe Son is a very good player, but I want to have my coverage for Arsenal as well. And if I own Son, I cannot own Saka, and for me, Saka is just more integral to the way Arsenal play, and he is one of the best players in the league. Son is good as well, but for me, Saka is just more integral to the way Arsenal play. And the final guy here that I'm opting for is Gordon. He is suspended for game week 8, but for game week 9 he will be back into the side. For me, with Harvey Barnes injured and Isaac and Wilson sharing their minutes, Gordon and Almiron, especially Gordon, will be nailed. And for me, he is doing perfectly fine. He will play in the Champions League. He will be playing in the Premier League as well. He will be rested in the Carabao. But yeah, Gordon, for me, if you want Newcastle attacker, he is the cheapest and best option you can go for because he's nailed, he's on the wing, they are getting a lot of goals, he's on the opposite side of Trippier, so he can get some crosses from him or get into dangerous opportunities with the diagonal passes from Trippier. So in my opinion, Gordon is going to do a lot of damage. Here I have a lot of omissions. First of all, no Manchester City player. I couldn't find a place for anyone, and I don't see anyone as a big threat right now to own. I wanted Luis Diaz as well, but I just couldn't afford him. Maybe he would have gone instead of Gordon, but this is a very, very big leap in price, so Gordon it is. Bowen is another option that I wanted to go for, but it's either Bowen or Diaby. And if you want to be more different than the others, Bowen is a fine option, but if you want to play it safe, Diaby is your guy. Ward-Prowse is another okay option, and he is cheaper than Bowen, so you can go for him as well if you want to have a set-piece taker such as Madison and a guy that can just gain the points week in and week out. Other players that I wanted to go for were Son, as already mentioned. And Bumo is another option that I think is going to do a lot of damage, especially in the easier fixtures, because Brentford has lost 3 games in a row and they need to fight back, and Mbumo will be involved. After that, they have fixtures against Liverpool and Arsenal, but I believe in those fixtures Mbumo can do serious damage, as usually Brentford are scoring against the bigger oppositions such as Manchester United today. I believe Liverpool and Arsenal will also concede against Brentford, and Brentford will need to get a lot of points because they lost plenty and they cannot afford to lose a lot more. There isn't a Brighton player here as well. After the game against City, there is a pretty good green fixture run, and I'm even considering swapping maybe Gordon for Mitoma or March when the time comes, or Diaby for one of the two, but for now there is just no place for them. Other players that I'm missing: Chelsea assets. Sterling scored pretty good points, but now their fixtures turn for the worse, and I believe that they are better midfielders. He's sometimes a rotation risk, such as in game week 7. I thought that game week 8 will be the same, but maybe with that performance he's not going to be subbed out or left out of the side. But yeah, I don't want to get into those rotations. I believe that those 5 guys are not rotatable, and they are very, very much like nailed and 100% playing. So I like that. I like that in a midfielder, and I believe I have 2 penalty takers. I don't know who takes the penalty for Spurs yet. Diaby is not on penalties and Gordon is not. So 2 penalty takers, some set piece takers, perfectly fine for now. Let me think if I'm missing someone. Oh yeah, I don't have any Manchester United midfielders, but they're too expensive for the blanks that they are giving. 2 points from Bruno, 2 points from Rashford this game week, nothing too special from them. And I believe that maybe Højlund is the best attacking option right now because he is a cheap price. But let's go and talk about the forwards. There I have some obvious submissions, and let's discuss why I chose my 3 strikers. Up front, I've gone with double Manchester City and Archer. Let's talk about the double Manchester City. For me, Haaland is pretty risky game to go without him. He is over 100% owned every week. So if you don't captain him, let's say you want to go for a differential and you don't own him, it's a pretty big risk. Every point that he scores is going to hurt you a lot, and going without Haaland, I just don't find any reason to do so. For me, Haaland is and still is the best player in the Prem, and he is a world-class striker, so he will get back into form, and maybe he will start even against Arsenal, or after that maybe against Brighton. We have to see. The other option here that I opted for here is Alvarez. For me, Alvarez has been the best player for City so far this season, and even though City are having difficult fixture run, I believe that Alvarez and City will score a lot of goals, because they just do. And I want to have their 2 strikers. I know that Alvarez is being left out of several wildcard squads that I've seen so far, but for me that's a mistake. And Haaland being left out for me is a mistake as well. For me, those 2 guys can score all of the goals for City maybe, and be involved in a lot of opportunities. And even if Haaland is not scoring, Alvarez is. Sometimes Haaland scoring, Alvarez isn't. But I just cannot go with only one Manchester City player who is owned by over half of the... No, more than... It's about 90% ownership what I'm talking about. So yeah, I want to have Alvarez, I want to have Haaland. And the third guy here is Archer. He is a bench option. He is playing, which is good. He's not scoring, which isn't. But I cannot afford anyone else here to put into the draft, because the money will be very poorly spent. If I am opting for a third player who is just sitting on my bench, I don't think that's a good idea. As you can see, I have several omissions here. First, let's talk about Ollie Watkins. I just cannot afford him. If I want to go for Watkins, it's Archer replaced by Watkins and Saka replaced by a 4.5 midfielder, which for me is not a good option because I want Saka. The other options is to replace Alvarez and maybe Gordon and play with Watkins and another 4.5 midfielder, or replace Trippier to Burn and then pick Watkins. I have several options here, but for me Trippier and Gordon combo will do more than, let's say, Mitchell and Watkins. I believe Watkins is a good striker, but he is not going to score hat-tricks every week. And maybe against the weaker oppositions, Aston Villa will struggle because they can do some rotations. Duran can play at some point. Maybe Watkins is going to be rested at some point because he's the sole striker in Europe and in the Prem. This is going to be difficult. We have to see. Yeah, for now he is nailed and he's doing very well. But for me, there isn't enough space for him. Darwin, I'm missing here. I believe that he's going to be playing right now with Gakpo's injury, but I just couldn't afford him as well. Other good options in the striker positions, maybe a Newcastle player, Isaac or Wilson. We don't know, but for me, they're not nailed, both of them, and that's a risk that I'm not willing to take. And some other options, let me think. Højlund is another option, yeah, forgot about him. Manchester United are having an okay fixture run, and with that win in game week 8 against Brentford, their morale will be high, but he's not nailed, he's not, no, he's nailed, but he's not proven, and I believe Alvarez is just better. Jackson is a no-go for me. Yeah, he scored, but he scored against Burnley, and the other goal is against Luton, and their oppositions are getting harder and harder, so maybe Jackson will start blanking once again. I'm not falling into that same trap once again. Spurs are not having a probable striker. Maybe Jesus is an option here, but I like Saka more. So yeah, the strikers just pick themselves. I believe that owning two City players is good, because right now a lot of players will go away from them because they don't have the perfect fixture run. But this is City, and I believe that Alvarez is hungry and he will score a lot of goals. If you have any other suggestions who I can add to my wildcard selection video, just drop it down in the comment section. We're going to discuss it. If you have any other questions, drop them as well. If you enjoyed the video, like it, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Thank you for the support that you are supporting the channel and watching my videos. But for now, guys, I'll be heading out. Bye!